Hello, everybody. We're back into another awesome episode of questions and answers. And when I say awesome, it's awesome because I get to go back and look at all the questions and comments you guys leave behind and just kind of pick up on the replies that I can't really get to or the comments that I can't really get to and answer them in this sort of a show here. It's a little bit more laid back. You guys can leave this window open in another browser if you like while you're working on your art, or just to help in case you got nothing else to do. I'm just going to be showing a video in the background while I'm talking of a cover that I'm working on, and it might look a little familiar, some of the characters, for those of you that are following my channel and been watching some of my videos lately. Just a really quick overview of exactly what it is. If you go back to, I believe, the series of videos, there's two of them, or three. It's the process of a cover from thumbnail, pencil to ink, and it goes right through with some of the comments left from the client and things like that. After that discussion happened, out of the blue, that same client asked me to do another cover based on one of the thumbnails I'd done previously, and he's going to use that as the back cover of the comic. And I'll tell you guys right now, anytime you get a client that wants to do repeat work or anything like that, that's probably one of the best highs you can get, because it lets you know that the work that you're producing is accepted. You know, there's the polite emails you get after you send something in from people saying, "Oh, it's great." Maybe they're a little shy to ask you, "It's great, but could you maybe fix this or that?" And they don't want to ask those sort of things. But when they come back and they ask you to do more work, that's a great feeling. That's an awesome feeling. So I don't want to beat around that too much, but that's going to be going on in the background. Just so you guys got something to watch. I did want to say as well, thanks everybody that's following me on Patreon. You guys can send some support that way if you'd like. Go to patreon.com/Jonathan Rector. You guys can schedule some time with me if you'd like. If you'd like to go over some, like, maybe your artwork or a project you're doing, something like that, or just a critique, or you just wanted to chit-chat about art. Maybe you had a little, something you want to talk about school or something like that. All that fun stuff. And there's a whole bunch of other things. Plus, there's anybody that wants to donate anything. You get 5 of my pencil brushes that I use in Manga Studio 5. And other than that, one last thing. How does this show work? Well, it's a questions and answers, sort of like I already said. However, if you have a question that you wanted asked, by all means, leave it in the comments underneath this video. This is the first video I always go to, or whatever the last questions and answer was. I go to that one first when I'm doing my new one, so I can see what questions are there and tackle them. As well, any video between the questions and answers shows, I go back and I see if there's questions that I could repeat, because I think there's some cool information that you guys are sharing between each other, or if there's something that I maybe had missed, because I don't get a chance to go back and read them all, but I do read your comments. So anyway, let's get into it. So the first question comes from Officer M, and he or she says, "I find cover and pinup artists are a dime a dozen, but the real talent is in sequential pages and storytelling. There are a bunch of professionals out there where I look at their pages, and even with the words, it's nearly impossible to follow the story. Your thoughts?" Okay, well, thanks for the question, Officer. It's a little bit of I don't want to say a loaded question, but it's a perspective, a taste, and a style sort of thing, right? There are those of us that love comic books, and when you look at a comic book, you're there for the story. There's those of us that look at comic books that just buy it for the art. And there's those of us that buy comics for both. And it depends on which camp you fall in, Personally, I'm sort of a both kind of guy. I've bought comic books where the art was but the story was phenomenal. I couldn't get enough. I needed more. I couldn't wait for the next month for it to come out. Then there's other books where I just love the artist. And, there's a lot of artists that are out there. I like to use Jim Lee as an example because he's been around so long. I look up to him. A lot of his art I drew when I was growing up. I still look at his stuff, and it's awesome stuff. But to me, and this is where the style comes in, I look at his storytelling, and it can be clear, but it's not as impactful as a guy that I look up to as like one of the most phenomenal comic book storytellers, again, that I like because of style and storytelling pacing, which is Eduardo Rizzo from one of his popular works anyway is 100 Bullets. I've talked about him and his work a bunch of times. I highly recommend you guys go check it out. Even buy one trade paperback from it and just use it as reference for stacking shadow and light. But that's just my opinion, right? There are some people that look at like a Jim Lee and they like that simple you don't really need to think too much artwork, and that's not a slight against Jim Lee. I think many people would be ignorant to call any of these big boys, these big ladies that are out there, you know, your Jim Lees, your Rob Liefelds, whether you like it or not, Todd McFarlane, that sort of stuff. These guys got where they're at for a reason, right? And it might not be necessarily what you like in comic books, but I do get what you're saying. And just to sort of round this question out with some sort of answer where you're talking about like pinup artists or a dime a dozen, I think when most people start drawing, well, if not all people, most people when they start drawing when you're younger and stuff, it's all pinup stuff. It's all a character standing there, and you just design a costume or you make something, right? At some point in your life, you eventually start making comic books. Something where you start adding story to it, right? But usually when that happens, most people are still drawing pinups in those panels. You know what I'm saying? They're not thinking of the next level of stuff where it's storytelling. They're not even adding, even if you're just a cover artist, there needs to be a story in the art. You look at any famous painters. I'll use Frank Frazetta as an example. Amazing artist. If you guys don't know who he is, you know, you're probably a little younger. Check out Frank Frazetta, the god of fantasy art. You look at anything, we'll just say the Death Dealer, for example. You look at that art where he's on the horse and the axe. It's not just a guy that looks like a hood on a horse. There's a story there. It looks like that guy's in a world and has a story. Like, you don't feel safe when you look at the guy. That guy's not a guy that you're looking at. It's going to help you. You know what I mean? That's the part of illustration where storytelling, period, needs to be in everything. Even concept art, especially concept art. Every piece of art, for the most part, has a story to it. When you don't think of that story when you're drawing and you're just drawing, it's more of just like you're just drawing to sketch, you know? But for comic book artists, there are a few out there that I've seen where you could just look at their art, and again, that just could be the style that's talking to me in a certain way. But I don't really, it's just a guy standing on rubble, hunched over with his fists to his side, and you slap a costume on him, and it's like, that's not, you know, and then you open the book, and maybe there's some storytelling going on. But, I don't know. As for the people that are impossible to follow their story, there's one big offender, even though I love his artwork, Chris Paciello. I love his artwork, except if you ever read Steampunk, if you ever go back and try to pick up the trade of that, I believe you can get in a trade, man, those panels are hard to follow. It's like thick, chunky inks, and it's a wild time. I love it. I love looking at it. I believe he did like a sequel to Age of Apocalypse as well. I picked that up just because I had to. And, you know, it's hit and miss, but I just like the art so much that I'm willing to just kind of, But I think I get what you're saying, officer. Just stay true to what you like. Don't get upset when you look at Marvel just pumping out, I'm just using them as an example, pumping out just cool pinup art, you know? Because it does sell. It's a company. It's doing its thing. If you want to do comics, just do what you like in comics. If there's one beautiful thing about it is you don't necessarily need to be an amazing storyteller to work at these companies. You need to be able to tell a competent story, but you don't have to be the best. On the flip side, if you spend all your time worrying about the best storytelling and the anatomy sort of takes a hit, or, you know, certain things, you can still get a job too, right? It's just, does your style, does your attitude, does your artistic language, does it tickle the editors at the time that you're trying to give it to, right? You could send it to them every year, and eventually you might hear back. It just depends on when you're looking at it, at what time you're looking at it, right? The one example I like to use, and I'm really rambling on this question, but one example I'll use for myself again is there's a certain point, maybe about, 8 years ago, when I just started hearing about Jack Kirby for the first time. It took a while for me to even know about the guy. So I started hearing his name pop up a lot. I was just looking at stuff, and I thought it was trash. I think most people, there's the rare few that look at it and they just see genius. But most people look at it and it's disgusting. How can I put his Captain America with that whacked out anatomy next to a Jim Lee Captain America? There's no contest, guys. Like, Jim Lee's is way better. Then over time, you know, even though I would casually just see Jack Kirby popping up, I forget what it was. I think it may have been Fantastic Four or some piece of art. I had just seen something. Oh no, I know what it was. It was a documentary I watched on him. And somebody was showing a picture of Daredevil. He was like on the outside of a building, looking in, but his anatomy was like, there's nobody, you wouldn't stand like that holding onto the ledge of like a skyscraper building looking in somewhere. And you just started looking at it, and what it was it's kind of like when you look at a painting, and it's just like, it looks good, but then you get the artist, let's say, comes over, and it's like, or not even the artist, or just maybe like somebody that's in art history or something, and they look at it, and they start telling you what's behind it, and then you start to go, oh, I get the language that they're trying to speak, and then all of a sudden, it's like, that's the code, right? It's like, now you can speak different languages, I can see it, I can understand it. And then ever since that documentary and just seeing that one panel, it's probably still it's my favorite panel because it's the first one that I had seen that I actually understood why the lines were all frickin' straight. You got like a guy's arm holding onto a wall, and where your bottom of your shoulder, from your tricep to your elbow to your wrist bone to your pinky finger, that was like a straight frickin' line, and then everything else was just like a curve and a curve to the wrist. And I was just like, ugh, but you see it, and you're like, oh, wow, it takes balls to do that kind of stuff. Anyway, I don't know if that answered your question. It's sort of like, I think, an unanswerable question, but I appreciate it anyway. On to the next one by Cody Bang. Hi, Jonathan. I have a question of page size. This is a good one. And I just want your opinion on the settings. I am currently using a page size of, and he gives some numbers. On a finished page, some more numbers. These are the measurements for a manga that I'm slowly but surely working on, but I always seem to question myself on the page size if it's too small. I think I'm using a B5 page size with an A7 finished. Is that a good idea or not? I'm not that good with the math and stuff on those. There's just one piece of advice I'd give you. I like to give it to everybody. When you start working digital, and I have to use myself for reference because I got nobody else to bounce this off of, but when I was first starting digital, the fact that you can zoom in, zoom out, like, page size is wacky until you start getting used to it. Nothing feels right. If I grab a piece of paper, start drawing on that, I get it, right? But on digital, it's like, because of the zoom, it just gets weird. What I would recommend you do is take the size that you're comfortable with right now, that you're kind of flip-flopping if it's good or not, and get to a printer. If you have to pay the 50 cents to $1 to $5, I don't know how much it costs, for a single piece of paper, it's in your best interest just to do that, print it out, and see what it looks like. Because even an 8.5 by 11 standard piece of paper is still bigger than the average manga. I don't know if any manga goes bigger than that. And arguably as well, even printed comic book pages are still within the 8.5 by 11. So when you print it out, you can see, oh God, my lines are getting lost. I'm spending too much time on these. My brush doesn't need to be that big. One thing that I like to do from time to time, because my style's always changing, digital's letting me do that, is I'll go in there and I'll print pages from time to time and see, oh, I spent quite a bit of time in this area rendering it out, but when I print it out, it's gone. So there's no point. So you sort of let the printer tell you what's going to be in the final. If this is for web, however, then I don't think you need to worry about it. Web translates very well to digital, right? It makes sense. You can get a ratio, an aspect ratio, and just draw to that. Now, the quick thing, if you don't have access to any of this stuff, if you absolutely had to do something, just work at a high resolution and do that. I feel like I'm in the same boat as you. I have tried to look for like a standard manga-sized page. I can't find it. It took some work to even come across stuff, and I don't know the language. Again, talking about language. They're talking about shonen and some other names of like dojin or something like that, pages. I don't know what that means. They'll throw numbers at me and I'll put them in and it looks weird to me. The live area looks like it's whacked. The bleed area is, I don't know where it's going. So one other option you can do as well, this is a little dangerous. I only did it to one of my manga. I ripped out a page, usually in the front page, on the opposite side that says, whoa, you're reading manga wrong. Right? You rip that out, and I put that in my scanner and just scanned it in at like 600 DPI. And what it gave me was roughly the information that I need. And from there, you can build your guides and kind of like that. So try that. That might help you out. Thanks for the question, Cody. Next one's from Jared Perry. I forget which video this one was in, but he was asking, how are you flipping the canvas like that so quickly? And I'm not sure if you were watching, what video you were watching that had, either I was drawing in Photoshop or Manga Studio. So I'm just going to give you two solutions to how I how I do that so quickly. So in Manga Studio 5, there's this really fantastic feature. It's called the command bar. And if you guys look at even the video I'm doing right now, up at the top there, underneath like where it says File, Image, View, all that stuff, right underneath that is the command bar. And what that is a totally customizable bar that if you can get into it, you can add things to it. It's not a very like, oh, I'm just going to click and start adding things, you know. To get to it, just go to File, Command Bar Settings. It's literally that simple. And what you can do in there is you can add all sorts of things there. So you can just click it. You don't got to go to a menu. You don't got to do anything. So in Manga Studio, I have one that flips the canvas horizontally. Okay? That's how I'm flipping it so easy. I've also got, if you look there, there's 2 rotating arrows. That's in case I'm not on my, or I'm not using my Cintiq that day, I'm using my Intuos, you know, whatever. I can just click that and it'll do like small, I think it's 15-degree increments, left to right. And then beside that, it looks like a bullseye. And what that does is if I'm flipped over, if I'm rotated, I can click that and it'll automatically revert everything back to a default page, which is great because even if you're zooming out, you're zooming in, it's great to be able to do that. You can also put extra things up there like paintbrushes or file save. Really cool stuff, guys. I highly recommend it. It's kind of like, I believe there's actions as well in Manga Studio. I haven't really delved too much in there, but just being able to hotkey things up to somewhere like where you can get used to it is very good. But anyway, so you might need to pause the video and just get ready because I'll tell you how to get to it. And I'll repeat it again just so nobody forgets there, okay? So in order to get it set up like I have it, just so you can flip it so fast, in Manga Studio 5, go to File, Command Bar Settings. There's going to be a drop-down menu. Then go to View, then Rotate, Invert, and Flip Horizontal. Okay, and then you're going to click Add to Bar. Remember to save the bar too. If you don't save it, you're going to have to do this every time you open a Manga Studio, and then you're never going to want to do it. Okay, so one more time, it's File, Command Bar Settings. There'll be a drop-down menu, View, Rotate, Invert, Flip Horizontal. Okay, and if you guys are using Photoshop, it's pretty, I feel it's pretty easy. Like there's only 3 things you need to get to for this. It's not really that crazy, but in Photoshop, it's literally just Image, Rotate Canvas, Flip Canvas Horizontal. That's it. I have that hotkeyed as well. A book I haven't really talked about in a while, but I have talked about a lot, is the DC Comics Guide to Digitally Drawing Comics. Still highly recommend it. That's a book that taught me how to use actions. Actions aren't that difficult. They can be when you start, but they do amazing things. So I have a lot of my F keys on my keyboard mapped to actions in Photoshop. So for this example, anytime I press F2, it'll rotate the entire canvas horizontally. Takes a little while because my computer's not that fast. It's got to flip every single layer. Manga Studio is like instant, which is great. So if you make that a hotkey in Photoshop, you can just press an F key or whatever you like, and you just flip the image. So that's Image, Rotate Canvas, Flip Canvas Horizontal. Okay, thanks, Jared. And a good buddy here that posts a lot, Matador Studio. What I would give to be able to ink like that in Manga Studio, thank you. These how to make cover videos. Oh, sorry, I put this in here. It's not really a question, but these how to make a cover videos are your best vids to date, in my opinion. It's the meat and potatoes of making comics, or just art in general. Okay, so thanks, Matador. And the reason I wanted to put it in there is not because, hey, we all like getting awesome comments like that, but I just wanted to give a little outline. Hopefully you guys will start seeing this content come out so you'll get an understanding, and I'll bring it up from time to time. But I'm trying to get a schedule going here so we can start getting some more videos out to you guys. So it's not just the live streams, you know, we can get the 10-minute videos in there, the 5 minutes, the 15 juicy ones. So right now anyway, it's going to be every Monday. We're going to have, that's when this video actually is uploaded. So this style of video, or if I'm just, like, whatever I'm working on, if it's client work, anything like that, I'll just record for a little bit and talk, or just talk about the inking, talk about just the process. You guys can go back. A lot of videos of what I was doing was just that, and I feel like a lot of people got some feedback out of that. It's just I haven't had the chance to, but I'm trying to be a little more disciplined in there just to get you guys some more videos, because I know you guys are liking this stuff, so it's great. So Monday you can expect that sort of stuff. Wednesday's a live stream like usual. And you can head over to livestream.com/livescribbleswithjonathan. That's every Wednesday at 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I always record those. I know you guys have watched those. Those get uploaded on Saturday or Sunday. Someday on the weekend, okay? So if you do miss those, you can always check those out. Thursday is going to be the fundamentals, basics, tutorials sort of stuff. So it's kind of like the beginning of this channel. I know a lot of people, I can't even count or tell you guys when there were tutorial videos ever again. You know, like it's been a while. I don't necessarily want to do 30, 45 hour long videos of how to draw the head, but more simplified things. So even if it's just talking about how to fill up a sketchbook or a few pages or habits to get into that I think will help you because they've helped me. That's the sort of stuff that I want to get in there. So we can expect that sort of turnaround on some of these videos, okay? And just a little spoiler for you guys. Right now I'm working on a how to make a comic book series that will be on YouTube for free, okay? And what it's going to be is, I like to say, it's definitely a mini comic because it's only 3 pages. But when I say mini comic, I feel like a lot of you guys and girls out there, you kind of go, fuck it. I don't want to do mini comics. I want to do comics. I want to do story. I want to do trade paperbacks, volumes, encyclopedia-sized books, Lord of the Rings. That's what I don't want to do. Mini comics are a waste of time. Okay? But I'm hopefully, once you guys see this video, or it's going to be a series of videos, of my process of how to do a 3-page mini comic, that you guys will get excited and do it yourself and go, wow, I need to do more mini comics, or at least one a year. That's what I like to do myself. Whether or not I show it to anybody, doesn't matter. And I'm pitching this whole thing so far to you guys. I'm just going to blow it up. It's amazing. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. But the fact that you can do 3 pages of comic, I know it's not an encyclopedia-sized book, but 3 pages of a clear story. I'll show you guys how to do that. A clear story, character design, script, lettering. I don't know if we'll do coloring or toning. Not too sure yet. That will be a little bit of work. I don't necessarily think you need it, but it's just the fundamentals that when you're done, you can print this out if you want, or post it online to a Tumblr, to your Facebook, all that stuff. But it's going to teach you how hard it is, and I know you guys already know, but how hard it is to make a comic, but how fun it is, and the feeling that you get when you complete a 3-page comic it's amazing. It's addictive. That's why I like to do this sort of stuff. Most of the projects I do, you guys don't see. It looks like I jump around on project to project, but even when I'm working on client projects and stuff, it's usually more so on a personal project. But once you do, like, let's say a 22-page book of your own stuff, you want to do a bunch of series. Once you finish that 22 pages, you're going to feel like cloud 9. If you haven't experienced this already, get ready, because it's going to blow your guys' mind. It just feels so effing good. And then you're like, all right, let's get going again. But depending on what time you got to devote to this, who knows how long it takes you to do all that, right? It could take months. It could take years. And that's not a good way to keep the fire going on your projects, right? So the whole point of a 3-page mini comic, or 7 pages, whatever you like to do, but for the purposes of this video, we're going to do a 3-page mini comic just because it's easier, it's simple, it's manageable. But once you're done, the amount of work that it goes in even just making that, like I told you, script, character design, all that stuff, once it's done, you're going to feel great. You're going to feel like, oh man, this is finishing a 3-page mini comic feels the exact same as finishing a 22-page comic in my mind. And to this day, I finished mini comic. I won't show you guys. It was just for me. It felt as good as finishing an issue of The Standard, which you guys saw me do a lot of. And they're both totally different projects. But that feeling is good. So anyway, you guys look forward to that. Jessup, I got my cat friggin' clawing at my foot right here. Okay, big boy, come on. You gotta let go. Come on, let go of your Wolverine claws. So anyway, you guys can look forward to that. So yeah, anyway, thanks again, Matador. I just wanted to post that comment on there just so I give everybody a little update of what to expect from the next little bit of videos coming out. So the next video is from Noah D. Come on, Jessup. So Noah D asks, "Hi Jonathan, I'm an 11-year-old aspiring comic book artist and a huge fan. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. I was wondering what your thoughts about working digitally are when I am still very early in developing my art. P.S. Is there a way to share my art with you without a DeviantArt account?" Okay, so I'll just talk about that one first. DeviantArt, it sucks to upload art, in my opinion. I think if you pay for the subscription, it's much easier. But I hate it. It's very like there's things you gotta click. Does it go to this folder? It's just stuff. I'm not into it. I would recommend, if you didn't want to start a blog, make a Tumblr account. It's very easy to just upload stuff on Tumblr. Do that, send me that link, and I can kind of get back to you on that if you like. Or, I don't want to say my email because I'm not sure if you know much about file compression just yet. I've had people send me stuff, and it's like a 40 meg file for like a black and white image of a character standing there. It's not fun to deal with that sort of stuff. So I'd recommend making a Tumblr, or go to blogspot.com, make just a generic blog, or wordpress.com, and just make a post, punch a bunch of images in there, and then head over to my website, jonathanrector.com, and just go to contact me. There's an email link. Just go there and send me the link, bud. So I'd love to get back to you on that. But to answer your question, just to reiterate here, what my thoughts are about you working digitally, since you're still earlier in your art thing. I believe, I'm a huge believer in digital. I think for, let alone business, it's awesome. Being able to work with clients, things like that, everything's got to get scanned. If I'm not scanning it, if I was to mail this stuff to there's a lot of work in traditional stuff. There's a lot of work. The downside to digital is it's pretty cost intensive up front. You have to buy a computer, even talk about doing digital work. But thank God, you're most likely going to be doing black and white. I don't know what you want to do. If you want to do comic books, I don't necessarily think you need to worry about painting or grayscale necessarily, but you still need to understand light. So there's some back and forth. I want you to do whatever you're comfortable with. If it's a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen or a crayon, for frick's sake, do that. Do that until you start getting control of that medium. You start feeling confident in what's going on, and then you can start branching out to other things. That's what I would recommend. I would rather you spend your time banging your head against the wall trying to understand how structure and anatomy works, as opposed to how can I get my tablet to recognize on the screen what my hand's doing. I can't. Drawing on a Cintiq sucks. It's like drawing on glass. There's like a separation. Those are things you'll deal with in time. Worry about art fundamentals that don't matter what medium you're on. If you're painting, drawing, sketching, spray painting on a wall, there's fundamentals in art that it doesn't matter the medium that you need to understand. If you understand digital, I would stick with it myself. Just because there's a lot more flexibility I find in doing that. I still get comments from time to time, which I find very funny, of people that they just start attacking because it's, digital's not real art, it's not this, it's not that. Hey, everybody's got their own thing. I tip my hat off to most digital artists, just because I feel like digital is just like the normal now. There was a time when it was, and a recent time actually, I'd say within the last five years actually, where there was a huge, I would be getting a lot of people talking, or I'd see online, or just people saying digital's fine, but you're going to take a hit on your original art sales and stuff, and that's all fine. That's cool. But with digital, you could do so much more. Differently. Let's just put it that way. I don't want to say one's better than the other because that puts me into a camp. Just make kick-ass art, understand art, make your focus on studying and understanding that. Okay? So if you're comfortable on a computer, stick with it. Don't worry about going, oh God, if I spend the next 30 years trying to understand Photoshop better, my charcoal drawing is going to suffer. Don't worry about it. You got plenty of time, and I'll tell you right now, the more fundamentals you learn, and usually it's just form is what most people's fundamentals break down to. Can you shade a cylinder? Can you shade a cone or a sphere? Can you cast a shadow, reflective light, bounce light off of this stuff in grayscale? If you can start to understand that, really doesn't matter the medium, you'll find a way to get there. Okay? So don't worry about it. Stick with what you're comfortable with, bud, and just keep kicking its ass. So the next one, I think, will be our last question. And this one is from, I'm going to butcher this name, I apologize, Gediminas Melanakis. And you said at the bottom was in parentheses your name's Grant. So we'll just call you Grant. Hello, Jonathan. I have one heck of a loaded question for you. All right, here we go. I'm an aspiring artist who is aiming to become a professional. I need to improve my fundamentals, anatomy, perspective, color theory, etc. And I would be grateful if you have any books that you could recommend and the order I should go through them. I have a few anatomy books, such as The Atlas of the Human Anatomy for the Artist. That's a great book, and many more, but it's too confusing. And I have an idea what I'm looking at and how to apply my drawings. Okay, so I think you're still doing it right. If you're trying to do all that stuff, stick with it. You need to get down to the basics. If you can't understand an anatomy book, there's reasons for that. The first one's usually because you just don't understand anatomy yet, right? That's the more you do it, the more you'll start understanding. It'll start coming to you. The second one is the teacher isn't teaching you in the style that you prefer or that necessarily you need. Okay, so I know a lot of people, they only had one anatomy book while they were growing up, and that's all they drew from. And you end up getting good success from that, because what you end up doing is you're just tracing the pictures, redrawing it. But that's half of what's learning, okay? If I was watching an artist right beside me draw, I could learn so much faster, as opposed to just reading what that artist wrote with some some text and some screenshots. If I could see somebody doing something, I could learn that much faster. That's why on YouTube it's amazing, because I can just watch phenomenal artists draw because they're doing digital work. I can just see what brush settings they're using to get certain things, right? But to answer your question, it might be just try your local library. A lot of people actually don't go to the library anymore, which is a shame. Especially if you're a young artist. Check out the library. See what they have for anatomy books. They might have like a literal anatomy book of somebody cut open, and you can kind of get into that stuff. But you can go to, I believe it's SaveLoomis, LOOMIS.org, and his name is Andrew Loomis. A lot of people talk about him. I highly recommend checking his stuff out. He will make you understand things, I honestly believe, much quicker. However, his style can be it's tricky. It can be a little tricky. It's not simple stuff. The next guy is George Bridgman. I highly recommend his stuff. That's the first artist after Bern Hogarth that I really started studying and understanding mass, like weight on characters. And he's got a very scribbly style. So if that's how you like to draw, maybe George Bridgman's the way you like to go. If you're very precise and analytical, I think Loomis would be a little better. But since I've gotten older, there's an anatomy book that I wish I had. Probably, I still like Bridgman. I think Bridgman's phenomenal. But what is his name? I don't know if I have the book here. Let me just check. I usually keep it near me. No, I don't. The book's called Figure Drawing, Design, and Invention. Michael Hampton, that's the guy's name. Check his stuff out. He's got a really cool stylized way of breaking down, finding key areas on the anatomy and of a face of a person, and just how to break it down. But that's just anatomy, right? Just know that what you're doing is a long burn. You got to learn perspective. You got to learn form. You got to learn anatomy, shading, lighting, toning, rendering, line weights. What else we got? Composition, storytelling, black and whites. Like how do you stack negative space? What else we got? Structure. That's a friggin' huge list. But I'll give you one caveat to all that. This is just me. I'm still learning all that stuff too. It never stops. The only difference is you start to move along quicker. You start to pick it up like a train. You're just moving, and a lot of it's coming, and you're starting to get a lot of that back, which you need. But just know that if you're a younger artist, which it sounds like you are going to run into a wall and smack right into it, like very quickly. Okay? And then what you're going to do is get upset, frustrated, like, you're going to get raged. You're going to get raged. You might take a week off from drawing. I wouldn't recommend doing that. Just grab a sketchbook and just noodle stupid art that you're going to hate. It's going to suck. Everything you do is going to suck. And then eventually you're going to go and you're just going to maybe start drawing from a comic book or from TV or something. And, okay, now I'm starting to feel good. Then you're going to kind of go back to figure drawing, let's say. And you're not looking at what got you locked up last time. Now you're going to go, all right, screw it. I'm just going to try to learn how to draw an arm. You're drawing the arm. You're like, oh, yeah, this is okay. Everything's going good. Sweet. And then, boom, right into another wall. And you're like, oh, God. Same thing repeats, and you're like, okay, we're gonna come back to it. Okay, we're gonna draw a head this time. And it's like, oh wow, hey, weird. Hey, things are starting to click. Now the jaw's connecting where oh wow, okay. So you start rotating the head and there's some, it's wonky, there's some it's skinny when it shouldn't be, and eye sockets are too big and all that kind of stuff, but hey, it looks good, like it looks, you can tell you're improving. And then you're like, yeah, and then, what would the character look if he looks up? Boom! Into another wall. I fucking hate art. You just hate it. You do the exact same thing and then you go back and it's like, I'm going to try drawing that arm again. And whoa, it's starting to get real slick. Do you see where I'm going with this? It's going to happen. The only thing that sucks is when you're a younger artist, walls, man. All it is walls. And eventually you start slowly hitting those walls. And then sooner or later, the only thing you're really going to be worrying about is you're going to be fighting the art funk. And a lot of people get that. Not everybody, but a lot. Where it's, even though I can draw really well, even though I understand all this stuff, I just don't want to do it. It's work. It sucks. I don't want to do it. And you just play video games, or you watch movies, or you just hang out with friends, or worse, you just scroll around on the internet looking at other people's art, trying to get that spark back, right? But eventually it'll come back, and when it does, you just boom, you just keep blowing through stuff. But the walls change into different things, okay? The walls that you experience, this is my experience anyway, the walls of I can't draw X. Oh, that's frustrating. Eventually you can draw X to some degree. Not perfect, you might nail it, who knows? But eventually those walls that you hit where you just don't I can't function, my brain isn't telling me how to solve this problem. Those problems change into, why can't I sit down and draw today? Those sorts of problems. They're just different. You'll still be able to draw and all that stuff. So to sort of, let me just reiterate your question here, because I know we're going everywhere. You want to be a professional. So if you want to be a professional, draw every single day. Don't stop. If you only got 10 minutes, that's fine. You drew today. If you got 10 hours, do it. You can draw today. I still believe that, and this here is sort of like a mixed bag. People have different opinions on it. You'll hear a lot of people, this was my experience as well, where I just started shutting out a social life. I didn't really care if I was hanging out with people. I started distancing myself from friends, not because I hated them, I miss hanging out with them and stuff, but me in an anatomy book was, it was home. It started to feel comforting. It felt like I can't wait to just go home and lose myself in a world that's not around me. When I was growing up, some stuff was pretty shitty. I will say that. I didn't create worlds to lose myself in. It was mostly just anatomy comic book stuff. And I knew that if I could get home and or wherever I was and just sort of draw for a while, there'd be a calmness to it. There'd be something homey to it, like a good feeling, even if there's walls and stuff. Okay? So the reason why I say some people are mixed, some people think that you shouldn't be a shut-in, as they'll call them, or somebody that just lives in the basement drawing all day. You're going to miss out on life's adventures. If you're an artist, you're not going to get better at art unless you see the world to bring it back to your art. There's an argument for that, and I agree with it. But when you're learning out, I'm sort of the other way. I'm not saying don't talk to anybody for 10 years. Just live in a dank, rank, moldy, stinky basement with no light except the light bulb above you and just draw anatomy. But on the other hand, I'm telling you to do that. Okay? Because if you do those things, my experience anyway, if you do that stuff, you're sort of like just speeding along. If I'm spending a year, let's just say, shut in my house all day, for the most part, and just drawing all day for a year, do you know how good you're going to get? And it's not because you're trapped in a house. It's because you're doing those hours. You're doing the time to get there. It doesn't matter if you go out and you can still hang out with friends and do all that stuff. I doubt, it was just my experience anyway, I doubt that if you go out and you hang out and you play video games, play Magic the Gathering cards like I like to do still, going out there playing all that stuff, it's cool, it's inspiration. I get ideas and stories. I can see light on people's faces, or I can see just emotion and stuff, and I can bring that back to my art. That's fine. But the fundamentals, the basics, the raw things that make art, you're not going to know unless you're drawing, unless you're doing, unless you're creating and making. So that's why I say if you can, when you're younger, it's better, in my opinion, that you just sit down and blast through art. Perspective. Make a schedule for yourself. I did that as well. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday was like anatomy. Tuesday was perspective. Thursday was rendering and shadows. That's it. That's all I would do for a week. Saturday was, make your own characters, have fun. Sunday was make your own characters, have fun. Saturday and Sunday started to meld where it was like, okay, well now I can kind of hang out with friends, have a social life. Treat it, if you really want to, even if you're younger and you still like to play Call of Duty online or you like to play Minecraft, doesn't matter. Think of it like a night job. You know, I had we already answered a question for, what was your name? Noah, and he's 11 years old, and I would tell Noah to do the same thing. Sit where you're comfortable. If it's around your family, so they don't think you're getting weird. And just draw all the freaking time, guys. Make a schedule for yourself, even if it's only an hour a day. Think about that, okay? Like that stuff stacks. So if you just think in a week, right? You're not just drawing like an hour every day. You're not drawing 5 hours a week, right? Because if you're just doing 5 hours a week, that's fine. But 1 hour leads to 2 hours. And 2 hours leads to 3, right? But those are stacking on top of each other of things you're actually learning. So spend all the time in the world that you can while you can to do all that stuff. And once you hit like 15, 16, 17, 20, 25, like this stuff stacks and it's giving yourself amazing habits. There's a reason why, again, what I believe anyway, with like athletes and stuff, people that are out there playing, I've seen them, I still see them all the time, kids out there playing basketball. They're out there like every day when I bike home from work. Same kids, they're always playing basketball. I could guarantee you that when they grow up or while they're going through high school and all that stuff, they're probably going to be active in some way, right? They're probably going to be moving. They like it. That's what felt good to them. I wasn't really that guy. I would play football and stuff like that because it was fun. But sitting at home and just drawing or playing role-playing games, anything that took me to a new place was my crack and cocaine, right? Anything that I could learn about elves and dwarves and dragons and starfighters, monsters, superhero. Are you kidding me? Superheroes? That are fighting like Dr. Octopus and Juggernaut and the Hulk? What? I don't want to play football. I want to draw the Hulk smashing Apocalypse's face into the ground, right? And then I want a nuke to hit him, and then they're all going to fight in Radioactive Funtown, and then, you know what I mean, a dragon shows up. And that stuff, to me, still gets me interested. That's why I love reading comics. Right now, in front of me, I have the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic, drawn by Matias Santaluco. I believe I always butcher his name. And I'm just flipping through right now, and this is a New York that's cool, you know? There's turtles in it. It's fun. It looks good. It's fun. It's the stuff that I wouldn't be doing this stuff if I didn't like it, okay? And the reason I did this, all of this is just my own opinion. Take from what you like. But all this is because when I was younger, I did the same stuff I'm doing today. I remember just loving Power Rangers, okay? And my mom and my dad bought my brother and I a coloring book for Power Rangers. A coloring book, man. And the art was atrocious. Like I could even see it, and it was good. Like it was enough for me to get where I wanted to go. And I would just color that stuff all the time. And then eventually I found at my dad's work he had a photocopier. So what I did is I drew like a Power Ranger. It's like the Green Ranger, you know, with the shield on his chest. Except I drew him in this like lame pose and without the shield. And what I did is I photocopied like 100. And what I would do is I would take those photocopies and I'd get like a Sharpie marker and I would start designing new shields for brand new Power Rangers that I could have that were like cooler than the Green Ranger, right? I'm creating stuff. It's stupid stuff that kids do that are just, it's pure, unadulterated imaginating. It's creativity. It's the juice that keeps you doing what you're doing. I couldn't imagine my job just being draw a perfect anatomically correct human being in just doing like talking to Cheryl while Cheryl's talking to Steve, and they're just I can't. That's not what I like. Okay, that's just me. But all that comes from like what you like, right? So don't forget what you like. Just keep studying, keep doing it. You're going to get there. Just surround yourself with as much things that get you creatively juiced, if you can. Integrate that into your artwork, okay? So that it's a reason to do that. You're still going to fight those art funks that are going to come along no matter how passionate you are about art. There's a few of us that can just, boom, do art all the time. Doesn't matter if you're in an art funk or nothing. Just art is what you do. For myself, I'm still not that way. I get art funk from time to time where I don't want to draw. I'll be honest with you. But spend the time that you can studying as much as you can, okay? And don't feel like you're losing out on life. I don't feel that way. I hope you don't too. And that's only if you wanted to go my route. There's tons of different people that had different study rituals, but most of them you'll find, once they started getting good, was when they started doing something like that. When they took like 6 months off or a year or 5 years and just drew and studied. It wasn't just draw what's in your mind all the day. It was, I'm learning how to paint. It's like a clear goal. I'm learning anatomy so that I can draw Spider-Man doing anything I want Spider-Man to do. And you spend a year learning anatomy? Are you kidding me? You'll be able to draw Spider-Man doing whatever you want. And the thing is, that's 1 year. Stack that on the rest of your life. That's the only thing that you can do. You just keep drawing, okay? So I know that one was a longer one, guys, but really like the questions this time around. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And again, if you guys wanted to check out my website and my work, head over to jonathanrector.com. You guys follow me on Twitter, all that fun stuff over there. I want to say thank you. Thank you once again to all my Patreon subscribers. You guys are the boss nass, okay? You guys are awesome. You guys are letting me put that money aside to start pumping out personal work, okay? And making more YouTube content and all that fun stuff. You guys are the best. And again, this show here is just to answer your guys' questions that I don't necessarily get to. I just want to share with everybody. Great replies from some of the users on YouTube as well, and I'll start including those as well. So if you did have a question that you'd like me to answer, hopefully I can. Just leave it in the comment bar below. I will check this out in between this one and questions and answers. I think it'll be number 5. 5 already. Whew. That's crazy. But anyway, I will see you guys in the next video. Take care. Keep reading comics. Keep making comics. I'll see you next time. Bye.